the MTP standard has arrived in the pharmaceutical industry. And standardized flexible plants are a reality, and successful implementations in GXP environments are also a reality. Yesterday I was in Würzburg presenting with Sebastian Härtner from Merck in Darmstadt the first implementation in a GMP environment, and that was the issue today with my car coming from Würzburg. But various regulatory requirements must be fulfilled, and as we experienced right now, validation qualification is pushed off to be done later.
Yes.
Yeah. So every regulated user, pharmaceutical company, implements these requirements individually. And especially when you look at modular plants consisting of modules, process orchestration layer, also different frameworks, SOP frameworks, have to be aligned. So you have the equipment qualification people, you have the computerized system validation people. And for the modules suppliers need to adapt their ways of working for every individual client. And these modules are automated manufacturing equipment consisting of automation and the equipment. So all big pharmaceutical companies have the issue of these silos, or most of them have the silos, computerized system validation, equipment qualification. If you procure a module and want to ask a module vendor to provide pre-qualified modules, you have to do front-end engineering and instruct accordingly. So, but the current situation is inefficient. It prevents modular plants to achieve its full potential. So, why? Because we have these different SOP frameworks, different departments dealing with the same vendor, talking about different topics separately. So, standardized, harmonized, and generally accepted approaches for modular plants do not exist yet. Yesterday, we presented the idea of the GAMP SIG, Qualification Validation of Modular Plants, was born in the Merck project. So, but not yet, work is in progress, and Rod, you have shown the joint guide from the Pharma 4.0 and the GAMP community. Good, but why do we do all this? And what do we have to address? We have multiple regulatory requirements from the US, EU, worldwide. We have guidances, inspectors are trained to look at good manufacturing practices, and we have the ISPE GAMP community. And all this needs to be put together by the regulated user when a plant is planned, engineered, built. I omitted all the pointer doesn't work. I omitted all the back and forth verification steps in between. And then the authorities need to be informed. So the authorities are informed. They come for an inspection, pre-approval inspection. And then, if everything's fine, according to good manufacturing practices, is a big word, but how do we achieve this? This is what we describe in the guideline. And if everything's fine, the manufacturing license is granted. This is in a rush. Why do we need to address qualification and validation? And ideally, not too late, right from the beginning. Okay, what is the objective? Why do we have these regulations? But I want to ask, who is from the pharmaceutical industry in the audience? Quite some, so I do this quickly then. So, medicinal products shall be fit for their intended use, shall not place patients at risk due to inadequate safety, product safety. 2 weeks ago, we had a symposium at the TU Dresden where the MTP standard was created, or the father of the MTP standard is a professor, and we had authority engineering, because our modular plants have to comply with GMP regulations and also HSE regulations. So, but product safety, that's what we deal with, quality and efficiency. Therefore, good manufacturing practices shall ensure. And you all have heard of GAMP. If you put a little A in between, the good automated manufacturing practices when you use automation systems, that the medicinal products are consistently produced and controlled. You have seen all the methods, the nice presentation we've seen this afternoon, to quality standards appropriate to the intended use. Critical steps for manufacturing processes are validated, and the changes are validated. And the modular plant computerized systems need to be validated, and the equipment is in the qualified state. That's what we need to achieve and describe how to achieve that efficiently. Yes, and our guide, we address the computerized system validation, including equipment qualification. And there is in the community a big discussion ongoing. If you look at the GAMP 5 in the beginning section, you have the good engineering practices, and you have the controlling system and the controlled system, which always included the equipment. And we have to bring this idea again forward. And we will base the standard on the good engineering practice and quality by design principles, and define generally acceptable standards for procurement of pre-qualified equipment. This is the way how pharmaceutical companies can really leverage modules which can be seamlessly integrated, including the associated documentation regarding qualification, and the qualification is completed when you install the equipment. And translate pharma industry specifics into generally acceptable verification approaches. This is an important step to widen the supplier base. And to define principles to derive smart automation architectures. And I will show you an example, and I'm a bit hesitant, I hope it's not too detailed, but expressing the steps required to minimize computerized system validation effort by following a certain sequence. But before we do this, the potential, you know, the -70, -50, -80, standardized and streamlined good engineering practices, seamless data-driven process equipment and automation engineering. And this needs to be done data-driven, not Word, Excel, PowerPoint anymore. There are tool chains available. Yesterday on the Smart Manufacturing Smart Manufacturing Congress, nice tool chains were presented where you can seamlessly use the MTP standard as requirements engineering artifact to define your requirements. And this shall be the basis for computerized system validation and equipment qualification. Okay? Increase operational flexibility by designing modular manufacturing platforms and specifying operations philosophy at the beginning. How do you want to operate this plant? This enables a smart automation architecture, and you define your procurement strategy and can define, I want to procure those pre-qualified, and assess, develop, and audit. And this is important, assess, develop, and audit suppliers to be able to provide pre-qualified equipment. They are not there like this. This market has to be developed first. Reduce on-site computerized system validation and equipment qualification by the steps described initially and reoccurring. Good, and now one example. First, define the operational philosophy. How do you want to operate it? Operate, maintain, and calibrate. And the decision needs to be taken early. I want to do this via the POL only, via the control level, not on the module level. If this decision is taken, then you look at the equipment pair level, process equipment assembly level, and you have these equipments. And the equipment vendors, and maybe there's an opposition in the room, but they have their automation. And you ask them to provide those MTP enabled with MTP functionality. And you ask them to not provide HMIs connected to the PLC. Why is this? And there is a lot of arguments going on, because once you have an HMI at the PLC, you have audit trail, user management, access management, all these things, data integrity topics you have to solve twice, on the equipment level and what we see later on the POL level. You ask the equipment supplier, design the HMI for operation, for maintenance, for calibration, and put it in the XML file. Put it in the MTP. And this must be a request from the regulated company. And then there's a request, the suppliers argue differently, and then you meet somehow in the middle. And then you define, I want this equipment pre-qualified. And now you can use any POL. And this is a nice thing. You're not hooked to any specific technology. Once you have asked a vendor to provide an MTP-based automation with HMI screens for operation, maintenance, calibration, what have you, you import this MTP file in the POL, and you have the HMI there. There are even POL as a service available from a company, a startup in Dresden, where you can then use this POL doing an FAT, because the interface is defined in the MTP file. And from a qualification validation aspect, if the pair vendor has verified that this file is complete and correct, well, you don't have to check that on POL level anymore. And then you concentrate on your POL level once, on your recipes, historian, trending, alarm management, user management, audit trail, only once. You don't do this on the pair level anymore. Yeah? Batch reporting and e-signatures. And then you connect, and here you are. So moving the functions required for module operation to POL level only allows to minimize specification, verification effort on module level. And in one project, I was working supporting a client and also negotiating with the quality. That's typically my job. And hopefully this benefits of this approach. In the real client projects, we could cut 30 pages URS to 15 pages. 16 pages were electronic record, electronic signature, data integrity requirements. We could shrink it to 1 page. Certain aspects still need to be considered, but all the rest you do once. And let's think you have 10 pairs. You reduce all this negotiating with different vendors, verification during FAT, and move it up to the POL level. This brings a big saving. This is what we cover in our guide, joint guide, and you see on the bottom computerized system validation, and I stress it, including equipment qualification. We have to bridge this gap, and this is a big task we have to work on. And I love to work with Giuseppe Rott and Markus Fink from Siemens as the leaders of this.
One of the big advantages is this reduction in the page number, I think, make you reflecting, you know, what is important, how important is MTP in order to reduce the validation cost.
And most importantly, to have people with automation knowledge and qualification validation knowledge in the team to negotiate and to explain to the quality department that we are not missing anything, we are only moving. And this way you can concentrate during your FAT on the automated set function, on the processing function. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Thomas.